All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk North Carolina Genealogy.
Hello, everybody. So glad to be here today and to see so many people already with us, already in the chat, sharing where you're from. We're really excited about today's show, and we are not going to take up a lot of your time in the preliminary part because we have a lot of good information coming to you from our guests today.
Yes, indeed. In fact, Connie's already said, wow, what a crowd. Yes, we do have a crowd. We're actually doing something very different this time around. So, for this show, we have invited representatives from libraries across the state to come and share with you all about their libraries or center, the services they provide, the collections they have, and how it can help you in your family history work. So, I guess we should introduce ourselves. I guess so, huh? So, hi, I'm Tania Kuntz, and I am in Nashville, Tennessee.
And I'm Renata Yarborough Sanders, coming to you from Newport News, Virginia.
And our guests that we have today are, I'll start with Tama down the corner here. Tama Creef, who is with us from the Outer Banks History Center. Welcome, Tama.
Hello.
And
delighted to be here today.
So glad to have you. Sheila, welcome. This is Sheila Bumgarner, and she is with us from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Public Library System.
Hi. Glad to be here.
And Gretchen Witt. Gretchen is with us from Rowan Public Library. Welcome, Gretchen. Oh, you're on mute, Gretchen, if you want to pop off so we can hear your lovely voice.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you very much for your welcome. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, we are so glad to have you all as we experiment with this panel to this episode. So
yeah, we haven't had well, I guess with our big Q&A last year, but we were not on StreamYard. We were straight out of YouTube and Zoom. So
yes,
this is a little different. Okay,
definitely a little different.
Well, we are not going to waste any time today. You know, we typically do a short educational segment from either Tania or me before our guest speaks. And today is only different in that it is going to be very, very, very minute. And so I am just going to take a minute to share with you a little bit about the four local or regional kind of libraries that I have used or should be using in my genealogy research. What you see on the screen represents 4 of the counties that I do research in. And I'm just going to tell you just a tiny bit about each one of their libraries and what they have to offer. So I'm going to start with the Tyrrell County Library. And this is their website. And I have a confession to make. This confessions of a genealogist here. I have actually never visited the Tyrrell County Library, and I'm a little bit tail between my legs on that because I do go down there for meetings of the Genealogical Society. So I need to do better. But what I found out when I visited their website was that they're actually part of a regional system, which is the Pettigrew Regional Library, and it includes Chowan, Perquimans, Tyrrell, and Washington counties. And when I kind of walked around the website trying to see if they had a specific area for genealogy, as most of the sites do, I didn't find one. I was a little disappointed, but then I noticed that they did have some items of that would be of interest to genealogists on the website. And most namely, let me click on Tyrrell first. Are you seeing my share okay, Tania?
So we can see the image with all 4 buildings. Is that what you wanted to share?
Oh, no, it should have moved beyond that.
No, it has not.
Oh, so I was talking about something that you were not seeing.
But it was interesting.
Okay. Well, let's see. So I know in Zoom you have to reshare every time, but we had not been having to do that with StreamYard. So I'm not too sure. Let me just give it one more try. Well, actually, I'm not going to give it one more try because I just don't want it to take up all the time. So I will just tell you that what I was showing you or thinking I was showing you in Terrell County was that their library has the yearbook from Columbia High School digitized from 1941, I believe it was through 1972, on the library website. And so if you have family or ancestry from Terrell County and your family remained in Terrell County, maybe, into the 20th century, then it's quite possible that you could have had, interest in those yearbooks. The other thing that I found that they had was, and I'm trying to get it back as I'm talking, but the other thing that I found that they had was there was a newsletter. And right now, I can't remember the name of the newsletter, but it was full of photos and historical information and even hand-drawn maps of the downtown Columbia area. And it was just one issue, but I think it was like 40 pages long or something like that. And so I thought, well, that's something that a genealogist would really be interested in looking at. So it wasn't a complete disappointment, even though they didn't have a dedicated genealogy page. So here's the thing back up again, and I'll make one more attempt to see if clicking works. We'll go from there to my absolute favorite, which is the Franklin County Library. Now, did it change for you that time?
No.
So that is just very interesting. All right, stop sharing and share again then. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to just give up on that because I'm wasting time. And I guess we'll just look at the 4 pictures. But I really was excited to be able to show you the Franklin County Library site because that one, I have been visiting there in person since the early 90s. And they have an entire genealogy section. And what I have found is that they've made an attempt to digitize everything that they have in their vertical files. And I was going to be showing you the long list of surnames because they have, I guess we could call it family papers, but they're not really all like the family papers that you find in a manuscript collection. They are papers donated by particular families. And so some of them have family trees, family stories, family histories, that kind of a thing. And it's a really valuable resource. They also have information, historical information about the county. They have maps, all different kinds of maps showing you the changes in the county lines over time. So it's just a really valuable resource there in Franklin County. And I think, Tania, since I'm not able to show the things that I had prepared, that I will just mention the other 2, which the one here in the upper left corner is the Warren County Library, also has a great section for genealogical research. And then the Thornton Library in Oxford, which is kind of like, I'd say, the gold standard of genealogy rooms. And they have what I consider to be one of North Carolina's most treasured librarians or workers, which is Mark Pace, who knows everything there is to know about at least the history in that general area. But the Thornton Library, I'm sorry I'm not able to show you their site because they have an educational component to their site as well as county-specific information. So my little part is just to let you know that we shouldn't overlook our local and regional libraries. We're going to hear from regional in a few minutes, but those small local libraries will have information for you, and you might get lucky and find something from your own family history. So that's it.
Thank you. Oops. Uh-oh. I lost Gretchen. Okay. Thank you, Renata, for sharing that.
No problem. Sorry for the issue because I don't think we've had that issue before moving between slides. So, or I'm not sure what that was, but we'll work on it before our next show.
But great. So
Mhm.
again, thank you. Libraries, like you said, are very important. Have so many treasures for you. I only wish I could visit more libraries in North Carolina. I don't get the opportunity to do that, so I tend to be more of the web user. But it'll be good to hear from our guest today. So I guess we'll go ahead and start with Tama. Tama, would you go ahead and share with us maybe how long you've been at your center and what you do there, and then we can go into your presentation.
Wonderful. I've been with the Outer Banks History Center for just about 15 years. I'm what they call a Marian. My husband grew up here on the Outer Banks, and I met him through the Lost Colony. We both had a mutual friend and ended up meeting each other years later, and it was the classic thunderbolt out of the sky situation. Love it here. This is a phenomenal history, and the History Center itself has some wonderful collections that I think will be very useful for you genealogists. If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the PowerPoint.
Okay, go ahead.
And get myself into a slideshow, and we'll start talking.
All right, and there we go.
Wonderful. So the Outer Banks History Center is a regional archives and research library in Manteo, North Carolina. We're part of the State Archives in Raleigh, and we're under the umbrella of the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. We came about because of our patron benefactor, David Stick. He was quite a community activist in his own right. He created the Outer Banks Community Foundation. He fought for better libraries. He worked to protect shorelines and water qualities, was the first mayor of Southern Shores, and was a commissioner here for a number of years beyond a number of other passions. But his greatest claim to fame was being an author and historian. And here he's shown working at home. And one of his most well-known books was Graveyard of the Atlantic. And over the course of many years writing these books, he amassed a phenomenal private library of maps and photographs, old diaries and documents. He did oral histories and collected ephemera and random items that he could, anything of interest. And when he retired, he donated everything to the state of North Carolina and created the Outer Banks History Center. That's us, the oval sign on the porch. We share a building with Roanoke Island Festival Park across from the waterfront in Manteo. And you can know you found us when you see the Elizabeth II, which is a representation of the type of ship that the early exploration would have been used. It's been very quiet here for the last year or so, like everyone else. Our reading room has been pretty much empty, but we are beginning to see genealogists and other researchers coming in to see us from time to time. We've got a stack room that holds our collection in climate-controlled conditions. And we focus on particularly Eastern North Carolina, any county that touches the water and the one beside it. So we've got Dare County, Terrell County, Washington County. But we also, because of some of the random issues here, we have some things from Orange County in the far state side of the state where different collections have given us material. So we focus particularly on Eastern North Carolina, but we have a lot more than that. So don't count us out just because we're next to the sea. About a third of our collection is made up of personal papers and organizational records. This is from the Mann family collection. It's one of the earliest pieces of genealogy that we have, starting with 1752. Sorry. There we go. About a third of our collection is also made up of audiovisual materials. We've got thousands of photographs. Probably our earliest one is of the 1899 hurricane aftermath. We've got a lot of emphasis on commercial and recreational fishing. So if you were here with your folks in the 1960s, Aycock Brown might have taken your picture and we might have it in our collection. We've also got all kinds of different recordings, oral histories that tell the stories of what it was like to grow up in Collington and to go duck hunting in December, that tell stories of maybe a couple of your cousins. We never know, and we've been transcribing a lot of those more and more as time goes on. And then about a third of our collection is made up of artwork. This painting is Frank Stick's watercolors. We've got a number of his works. He was David's father. But then we've also got a number of engravings and historical documents, a lot of maps, ton of maps. One good reference for you will be ncmaps.org, where the University of North Carolina took our maps, their maps, a number of different organizations, and put them on the web so that they could be accessed. Now, when you're looking at some of the materials here, I'm going to give you some inside hints. You're going to be looking at these initials to give you a hint at what you're looking for. PC is a private collection. Org, organization, AV, audiovisual materials. CH is for church records, and we don't have a whole lot of them here. We've got like the Amity Church in Hyde County that closed, and so we've got some of their Sunday school books, records and registrations. A lot of that goes to the state. And then also you want to look at the different dioceses and regional repositories for the individual churches. Got a ton of books, from the most recent theory on what happened to the lost colony up to a really nice collection of cookbooks that add a little bit to the history. Serials you may be familiar with. They're those once a year yearbooks or one of 5 series of books. And we have a number of periodicals as well that go as far back as the Niles Register and Harper's Bazaar and others. So that's very useful for you. Now, as far as genealogy and family history go, we do have a lot of materials, not as much as they have in Raleigh, but then again, I think Raleigh has a 50-year jump on collecting with us. But what we've got is absolutely phenomenal. But we also have a lot of loose ends that we hope that over the years we'll be able to figure out and tie some knots into, so to speak. For example, this group of kids in the middle, I know are from the Roanoke Island School, and the picture was taken around 1910. I don't know who they are. Couldn't tell you. The most wonderful days that we have at the History Center when someone walks in and looks at a picture and says, hey, that's my Aunt Mary and Uncle David. And we're able to add a little bit more information that we didn't have before. Renata, I think probably the newsletter that you were trying to remember was Terrell County's Tides and Branches newsletter. They've been putting it out for years, and we've got a lot of them in our collection. And one of the wonderful things in the old days, I would have very proudly said, and we've got photocopies of the Dare County census from 1870. Well, don't laugh at me.
No.
But no, seriously. But nowadays, of course, you can find that on NC GenWeb. You can find it on Ancestry. You can find it on Family Search. And so what makes us still unique is that we've got the materials from all these different historical societies that may not ever get digitized. And so we collect as hard and fast as we can. If the Hyde County Historical and Genealogical Society puts out a new publication, we're going to buy a copy of it. And both of these organizations have done a wonderful job of putting out things to track down different family lines. Another unique resource that we have access to is, and you do too online, is the Dare Digital Heritage Collection. Our local newspaper is the Coastland Times. It was originally called the Dare County Times. And we've got the full run from the 1930s up till today. But most of them were digitized. And so that you can go to this website and put in names and look for pictures and look for obituaries and different information. So you don't have to go to find a grave. You might be able to find something more specific right here at home. I just learned today about the North Carolina Periodicals Index when I was looking up some of my fellow panel members here. And this is a project that I want us to get involved in. They have digitized a select number of the old magazines, and we've got some great old magazines that no one knows what is in them. And I want to become a part of this project, and this is one I highly recommend that you take a look at. And then this is off of NC GenWeb. This is some of the African American resources. We have a gentleman in Terrell County that has been looking for his aunt that he lost in the 1940s. And I'm hoping that this is one of the documents that's going to help him track her down. And it's fascinating, all of the different ways that you can do genealogy, because it isn't just dry searches through wills and deeds. Sometimes you take a look at the history of a place, and that's what makes it really fascinating. This is Richard Etheridge and the Pea Island Lifesaving crew. He's the one on the far end. He was born on Roanoke Island into slavery in 1847. Following emancipation, he served during the Civil War, and he joined the Lifesaving Service after the war and served there until his death in 1900. The building that you see there is a type of life-saving station that dotted the North Carolina coastline every few miles to help to provide possibilities for rescue for people who, all of the shipwrecks that occurred here, particularly during the late 1800s into the 1900s. There were primarily white crews. There were mixed race crews of black and white men working and living together that were called checkerboard crews. But Richard Etheridge was the first one to pull together an all black crew. He recruited William Bowser, David Bowser, that he had served with in the Civil War. He pulled in the Tillotts and other gentlemen that he knew to be of strong will and character from Roanoke Island. And they performed a number of rescues over the years that they were together. This wreck report, David rescued from the side of the road and got us about 40 years of these wreck reports. And this one shows the Pea Island crew's most famous rescue, the E.S. Newman. It happened in October in 1896, and they didn't even get recognition for it until almost 100 years later. But today I want to tell you a little bit about this rescue and what it has to do with genealogy. This is next to it is the Helen H. Benedict. And this was literally beached on the beach in Nag's Head and is a similar type of ship to the E.S. Newman. It's a three-masted schooner about the same size of the ship. The E.S. Newman had a crew of 9 people plus the captain, his wife, and 3-year-old child when it was beached during a hurricane. Now, it wasn't beached on the shoreline. It was about 30 yards out to sea. So figure you let your kids play on the shore. Here's the breakers. There's usually a trough and a little bit of still water. And then these are the breakers where you see the surfers and beyond where you see the body surfers. And it's starting to get a little bit rough out there. Figure just beyond that is about 30 yards out to sea where this ship was beached. It was too rough to launch a surf boat. It was nighttime. They couldn't anchor the Lyle gun to shoot a rope out to hoist the passengers back to shore one at a time. And so Richard Etheridge had his crew tie 2 of their strongest members together by a rope. And they went out 30 yards to sea where a rope was lowered from the ship. And first the 3-year-old child was sent down into Poseidon's arms, where the rescuers grabbed him, took him back to shore. They went out again and rescued the captain's wife. And then the 9 members of the crew. No life was lost because 2 men went out into the sea. When they were exhausted, they were replaced by 2 more. And they did it again and again until it was a successful rescue. Their story is told today very well at the Courthouse Museum in Manteo, which was started by members of the descendants of the Pea Island crew, which today is the Pea Island Preservation Society. Now you're saying, what does that have to do with genealogy? It all comes back to the Etheridge family. This is a picture of Etheridge Farm, which today is interpreted as Island Farm. And a few weeks ago, I had someone come in and ask me about this woman. This is a picture of Chrissy Bowser sitting in front of the house she lived on at Etheridge Farm for a number of years, where she was a cook. And the person that came in wanted to know whether Chrissy Bowser was born a slave or a free person. And I looked into our records and I couldn't find any record of her at all. I couldn't find any information of her dating back much later than about the 1880s to give us information of her beginnings. And it bothered me. And I thought, well, we don't have much in the way of the Bowser family. And it occurred to me suddenly that I knew that name. And I knew it because of the Pea Island crew. And sure enough, I got my trusty copy of Fire on the Beach and looked up William C. Bowser, who was born a free man. He and his sister, Vicky, Vicy. Now, you know as well as I do is that all it takes is one indifferent bureaucrat in a hurry with bad handwriting, and a person is lost to history forever. I'd like to tell you that I was able to prove that, yes, Vicky Bowser was actually Chrissy Bowser, but I couldn't. The years didn't quite match up. It isn't going to be that easy a search. The one will that might have proved that Chrissy Bowser was born a slave is missing from the Etheridge family papers. And Vicky Bowser sort of disappears over time. So we don't really know yet, but the researcher has gone back to go back over her research to see if she can find a connection of where one person disappears and the other one begins. And that's what makes genealogy so fascinating. Me, anyway. So now I know you're thinking, how do I find all of this neat stuff? You get start at our website, archives.ncdcr.gov. This is the homepage. And I'll tell you, you could get lost. This is a very dense website. If you click on any one of these tabs, you could spend an hour reading different information. But for your purposes, the fastest thing you could do is go right here and click Search Catalog. When you do that, this is what you're going to get. And I love this picture of the very serious people with yo-yos. I don't know who got the doorman to take that picture, but I don't think he's playing. Anyway, what you got is, after you go search the catalog, first I recommend that you go to the blue box and go through the frequently asked questions and then search the catalog in the purple box. I put in Bill Harris papers as the search because he is one of several very big genealogical collections that we have. The Beatrice MacArthur collection covers Hatteras very well. There is the Ed Clark collection that focuses on the World War II veterans of Hyde County. We've got wonderful collections of all sorts of different areas, but Bill's focuses on Kitty Hawk and Currituck. And so I thought, because of the size of it, it might be a good one to show.
So may I ask a question, Tama?
Of course.
So your search box that you're showing here, so we as users can search here and get access to all the collections you've just mentioned, or at least details about them?
You can get to, in the old days, what we would have called the card catalog.
The card catalog, right.
Yeah, it will give you the listings of the information, and then you need to either contact us or better yet, come to see us to see the actual materials. Right. We're trying to digitize as much as we can. It's a long, slow process.
I bet. Well, we do need to wrap up and move on to our next presenter. Was there a little bit more you needed to do to finalize us here?
No, the main thing that I just wanted to say is that once you go through, I'm going to click through a couple of these pages, you want the finding aid, and that's where you're really going to see the abstract, the arrangement, and then the lists of the different files. And when you do your homework before you see us, go to that website, get the name, the collection number, and the location of what you want to see or learn about, and then contact us. We'd love to see you anytime.
Great. You know, I like how you described it. Any county that touches the water. I love that. I love that.
And then they kind of do, after a certain point, Raleigh goes the other side off to the mountains. So,
okay. Oh, and the website, again, someone's asking to repeat it. So the website URL, please.
Here you go. Archives.ncdcr.gov.
Perfect.
And we will have all of the links in the show notes on YouTube. We've been putting some of them in the chat, but everything will be on the show notes. Tam, I wanted to thank you also. And I did put a comment in the blog. I was able to get back to my PowerPoint. And no, it's not the Tyrrell Tides, unless this is a precursor to the Tyrrell Tides, but it's actually called Swamp Roots. That's what the name of the newsletter is that's on the Tyrrell County site. So Tyrrell Tides comes out from the Tyrrell County Genealogical Society each month.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, go on their website. It's on the right-hand side near the bottom. And it's 40-some pages. It's very, very interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Right.
And thank you so much. All right.
Yeah. All right. So Sheila, you're up next to share with us.
Tania, before we go to
yes.
Sheila, I think we forgot to tell our friends that We will still have our Q&A at the end of after the third presentation. So please hold your questions. If you have questions for a specific one of our presenters, they will all be with us for the Q&A. And you can also remember, if you'd like, to put your questions in the chat with a Q in front of them so that we'll be ready to queue them up a little bit faster at the end.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Renata.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Sheila, please do go ahead and let us know how long you've been with Charlotte Mecklenburg and what you do there as you launch into your presentation. And you're on mute right now.
You're on mute, Sheila.
Let's see if I wonder if I can.
Hi.
There you are.
I'm sorry about that. My name is Sheila Bumgarner. I've been with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library since 1988, as well as the Robinson Spangler Carolina Room, which is our special collection. So I created a little PowerPoint, and fingers crossed this will all work and we'll all be, and here we are, and share and go.
Okay, and let me get it launched to the screen. All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Well, as you can see, this is the Robinson Spangler Carolina Room. This is just a brief little site to show you who we are. We were founded in 1956 with the second building that stood on the site. There's been a library at 310 North Tryon Street since 1903. We started out with a few filing cabinets and a small genealogical collection, and today we house the largest genealogical collection in a North Carolina public library. We focus on the entire state. We have resources for the entire state, including books, microfilm, as well as family histories and book, as well as vertical file form, anything and everything you ever wanted to know about Charlotte or North Carolina. We also, this is the reading room, a small portion of it. We do exhibits. I'm responsible for doing exhibits as well as programming, ordering books, and as well as doing presentations like this, and also doing reference work.
Yeah.
Our collection, the genealogical collection, started out with just North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. Since that time, we've always followed migratory patterns, but we do so more extensively now. And as you can see, people came into North Carolina from various locations, various states, even from the islands. And we follow those migratory patterns in as well as out of North Carolina. So our collection focuses on the deep South, Texas, all the way out to California. We have one genealogical book for every state in the union. Can't say that we have a lot on Hawaii, but we do have some. We also have county records for most of the states. We have local records, of course, wills, deeds, and things like that. And as well as, book abstracts. And people just tend to come back to Charlotte as a starting point as they go to Rowan County as well as Raleigh, and then make their way east. We always refer people as they're going eastward to check with the library, make sure that someone is there to help them and give them an idea of what they're looking for before we make that referral. This is a small portion of our maps and vertical files. Our maps are historic Charlotte and Mecklenburg County maps, as well as some of the county maps. We're real proud of these maps because there's just not a lot for Mecklenburg County. So, but we do also have the USGS maps and a lot of historic maps. Microfilm, as I said, we have county records. We used to have of course, as you know, we all had census on microfilm, but since most of it is on Ancestry, we've discarded most of that microfilm so we could have more space for newspapers, journals, and other historical documents. Some of the journals are online, Civil War indexes for both North and South Carolina, birth records, death records, and we're also exploring cemetery records. We have all the city cemetery information, as well as some church records that we work with local churches to acquire those. Okay. This is a wider angle of half of the room. And on the right is our rare book room. And this predates an addition that was added to the back because we needed that much space. The tables you see are from the original 1903 Carnegie Library. So we're real happy that we have that little remnant from there. This is the left side. The bust have since departed because they were not, how could I say this, politically correct anymore. So Zebulon Vance is now in a vault where he will remain. We also have the Charlotte Music Archives. It's one of the few things that differentiate us from a lot of public libraries. We opened this in 1989. The gentlemen on the left, those are the original briar hoppers that appeared on WBT radio back during the Depression. I forgot which version this is, but most of these gentlemen have passed on, I'm sorry to say, but they were delightful. On the back walls, we have North Carolina fiction. And we're going to go to some of these areas that I'm going to refer you to. The CM Story website. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Probably not. Oh, it did. Now, are you guys being able to see this?
So we're not seeing it. You may have to reshare to get to the actual website.
Okay, so let me get out of this and go back to where we were. I'm going to leave this up for a little bit while I talk. If you have our hours have changed. We used to be open the same hours as the library, but since COVID, we are only open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can send any email request to this address here, ncrstaff@cmlibrary.org. This is our phone number. On our cmstory.org website, and I'm not going to go through all of it because that would take at least an hour, but you can, I'll touch on it in just a little bit. We also have our genealogical history services. That's the other link that will take you to our site. And to find out what we have in terms of archives, I'm giving you this address for our special collections. It's on archives.com. And it's just a really, really wonderful site. We've got everything detailed in terms of archives, a lot of family papers, business papers, work from the Camp Green, which was a World War I training camp, school records, not too many church records, but university records from colleges that are no longer in existence. So now let me go and share. Let me get out of this little boom boom. Stop sharing. Let's see, hide this one. Nope. Don't you just love okay, stop sharing this one. And now let me escape out of here. Boop. Okay, and now we're going to share the website.
Okay.
Share screen, share window. Oh, and it's gone.
Musical.
Oh, my little boom boom is not there. Where did you go? Okay. Apparently, it just doesn't want to cooperate. Wait a minute. Nope, definitely not yet. Sorry, folks. I'm not as technically challenged as I've not used this before. It was there. Okay, we'll try it again.
Things seem to be a little different today. While she's doing that, I'll mention I did ask if people wanted to share other local or regional libraries that they found have a good good genealogical resources. David McCorkle shared the Dickerson Room and the Union County Library in Monroe, North Carolina. So
very good resources.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know why this little boo-boo is not sharing my website.
Well, do you want me to try and bring it up and then maybe you can talk us through it?
Oh, let me try.
Okay.
No, that's not it. That's you. Yeah, if you could bring up cmlibrary.org. Well,
right.
The one I sent you. Just pull up the one that I sent you.
The Robinson Spangler Carolina Room?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, folks. I am sorry about this. This gives you a wider angle of what the library department looks like. If you'll scroll down, we are taking appointments, and we can stop here for a little bit. You can make up to 2 2-hour appointments back to back, and you can be in the room for 4 hours. we have visitors who come from all over the country, and they're used to spending 8 hours a day. And we have regulars who are used to spending 8 hours a day here. So because of COVID restrictions and the fact, which I'm getting ready to go into, we will be closing this library in the fall. So let's scroll on down just a little bit. Here are some links. I was going to show them CM's story from here. I don't know if you can click on that and it would show or not, but do go to cmstory.org. That's where we have our photographs. We have exhibits. We have books that have been digitized, and also just a wealth of information. Yes, it does focus on Charlotte-Mecklenburg County history, but it also focuses on, you can use those for genealogy. Those are great resources for genealogy. A lot of the African-American album collections are from families that are local in Charlotte. Scroll down just a little bit. We'll talk about our services. We have a speakers bureau, which involves staff going out to the branches or to any organization that wishes to have a program. We do a lot of genealogy training. Right now, I'm doing one-on-one training because, for example, tomorrow I have a woman who is new to genealogy, but her research really is going to take her to the Newberry Public Library, but they really don't have the staff to help her get started, get her trained, and get her used to Ancestry and get her real comfortable with using a computer and using resources and just what questions to ask for. So we're going to do that tomorrow, have some one-on-one training. As I said earlier, we are open to the public. If you click on this site, it will take you straight to our image collection. We have school publications. We have their own annual. We have all the annuals, pretty much, not every annual. If anyone has any second ward high school annuals, call me. You just can't find them. Of course, we have links to Digital NC, and we've worked closely with them. We do have the Family Research Computer, which gives you access to the same materials that are at Salt Lake City. We have a special agreement with that. The manuscript collection, of course, would give you a link to the archives, our historic map collection, same thing. Of course, the catalog, which if you go to cmlibrary.org, you'll see catalog. So you click on that, and practically everything except the archives are catalog. Our books, of course, our vertical files are cataloged. So say, for example, you see the Alexander family, which there are 12 folders, so please don't ask us to scan all of those, but we would. But right now it's free. So now's the time to ask for scanning from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library. So we would look at the folder, we'll tell you what's inside it, and you can make that decision whether or not you want us to scan it. We do have local government documents. We also have the county records, mainly for the surrounding areas around Mecklenburg County. Also, we try to get some for the western part, because the eastern and the western part, those are the folks, who are really, they're following those migratory patterns from east to Piedmont to west. And it's just trying to link those together. And those county records can be really helpful. Fortunately, Mecklenburg County has their wills and their deeds online. And a lot of counties are going to that. I'm not sure. I think it's Union County does, or it may be Cabarrus. I can't remember which. And so that's just been like a fabulous resource for people who are doing genealogy. So let's scroll down we have, you can join us on Facebook. We post on there pretty regularly. We have, and we also take questions from there as well. I hope to ask me.
All right.
I'm sorry, I was reading the notes on the right-hand side. Nothing for me. Okay. So I hope that I'm trying to make this short because I know our time is really cutting short here, and I want to make some time for questions because that's the most important part. So I apologize if I went too fast, but I hope you will contact us if you want to come. We will be open to the public through at least October that I know. And then after that, our department will be going into a temporary location, and we will make arrangements to bring books to patrons who are making requests or show them how to do Ancestry or work with them through problems. One of our best programs that's well attended is Are You Stumped? And I usually take about 10 people, and we start with where they're stuck at. And 9 times out of 10, I am enabled to them to move on and go a little further back. So, and we work closely with all the different libraries in Mecklenburg County. And I'm sorry that you can hear my cat meowing, but she's had her treats twice, and I don't know why she's meowing again. And this is what we have during COVID, and we are
exactly.
So I will hand it back over to you, Tanya, and I will mute myself so you don't hear little kitty, and I will answer any questions later.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I think when Tania and I were trying to look at different libraries and see who we wanted to invite to speak, we were both just amazed by what we found when we got to your library, especially the speakers' offerings. So I now have nothing to do with Charlotte, but next time I'm in Charlotte, I'd really like to visit your library. And I'm sure I'll be piddling around on your website too.
Yes, we're expecting a 3-year build. This will be the 4th library on this site. So, yeah, it's the only library. I will not be coming back into the new building. I will be retiring in 3 years. And everyone is bemoaning that fact because I started out as the youngest person, and now I'm the old guard, and you know it's not you.
I understand. Well, thank you so much, and thank you to all of our guests who are sticking with us. We did anticipate today's show going a little bit over the 3 o'clock mark, so we are definitely going to be doing that. We are collecting your questions, and we will present them during the Q&A. And so now we have our last speaker. Tania, if you want to introduce her.
Yes. So we have Gretchen Witt. And Gretchen, would you share with us how long you've been where you're at? And what was the other question I asked? Oh, your role there and what you do as you get launched into your presentation.
Well, I've been here for about 15 years. I'm the supervisor of the history room at the Rowan Public Library. We only have, the history room is only at one branch, although I have a few little things at some of the other branches as well, so that they can, kind of get started, and we sort of entice people to come visit us here. I supervise 1 full-time person and 2 part-time, but we are open all the time that the library is open. So we staff from 9 to 9 Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 6 on Thursday, 9 to 5 on Fridays and Saturdays. So we are open to the public right now. So we do have limited space because of COVID. So we do suggest appointments, but we don't require them anymore. And but there's only so much space because we want to keep people safe. And the stacks are normally open, but right now they're closed. It makes it flow more easily for my staff, I think, at this point. And some of the other things I do, I'm part of the management team, so I, help. So sometime during COVID, I was helping with another branch of the library as well. So I'm glad to be back in my own spot and that sort of thing. During regular times of the world, and we're working towards getting back to that. I work closely with the Genealogical Society of Rowan County, and and I teach genealogy classes for just the general public. Usually once every couple months, we have a genealogy class that anyone can attend. So.
Great. Well, we just had Trudy in the comments mention your library as a great resource. So here we go.
Okay. So we, if you'll go to the next slide.
Okay.
This is the original library of the original first public library of Salisbury. It's still on the library site. It was originally constructed as a law office, but the Travelers Club, a ladies club in 1911, started this they were allowed to use this as our library and go on to the next one. So we still have our history on our own site. And the old courthouse was remodeled. Now it's used as it's part of the Rowan Museum. And so go ahead to the next one. I just kind of want to give you an idea of, and the black and white the black and white photo shows the original building that was built in 1951. And then on the right then was the one built in 1989. It is attached to the old building. So now the older building is used for meetings and those kinds of things. I am up on the top floor of the newer building. It's pretty much the entire floor is the history room, and of course we have every other hidey hole in the place for for manuscript collections and things like that. So you can go on to the next one. Our first professional librarian was hired in 1936. She was actually born. She was the last person born in the rectory across the street. Her father was the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church, and she was the last child born in that place. But she, Edith M Clark, was born in Salisbury. She was educated in Greensboro, and she was hired as the first actually trained librarian in 1936, and she stayed here until 1972. She was a director until then. So this room, she was very interested in history, and the room is named after her. Go ahead on to the next one. Of course, you can, one of the nice, I'm not going to read this to you, but one of the nice things about the Edith M Clark History Room is the Rowan County. We have all kinds of family genealogy, local and North Carolina history. We have old newspapers, yearbooks, and all kinds of manuscript collections. We also have a lot of organizations, so the Kiwanis Club, the Altrusa, the Lions Clubs, those kinds of things that give you the history of some of the organizations and other groups of people that have helped Salisbury and Rowan County develop it as it has. You can go on to the next one.
Okay, let me get my cursor going 1 second.
Sorry, yeah.
All right.
So we focus on Rowan County history and also Western North Carolina genealogy. And one of the reasons why we do that, of course, is because Rowan County was huge in the very beginning of it. It was in 1752 when it was originally created. But we do have, we probably have about 19,000 volumes. We have over 5,000 microfilm and, a couple hundred manuscript collections. We also collect for the county and the city governments, local newspapers, all the county yearbooks that we can find. And I add my plea to Sheila, anybody who has an extra one, please send it my way. And of course, photographs and genealogical journals for all kinds of other things. Can you go on to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
If you'll notice the red lines here, Rowan County, I don't know if you know the shape of Rowan County. We're like that triangle kind of almost in the middle of the red lines. But our current southern border with Cabarrus, north of Virginia, and west of the Mississippi River was Rowan County in the 1750s, and we collect for all information for all of those areas. One of the nice things about Rowan County is that we didn't have any significant record loss. We never had a courthouse burn or burned down or otherwise dismantled and that sort of thing. So we have a lot of information, and we have people all over the country who can track their folks back here to Rowan County. Go ahead to the next one. And of course, Sheila showed something similar to this, but so many of our folks that settled in this area in the Piedmont and Western North Carolina, most of them came down the Philadelphia Great Wagon Road from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, and went on through to the terminus of the Great Wagon Road, which is in Augusta, Georgia. So South Carolina, Georgia, but also go on to the next one. Left here.
Hold on, let me get my cursor.
It's all right. They also left here to emigrate to other places: South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Southern Indiana, and so we collect for all of those areas, particularly those areas that are were heavily populated by folks from North Carolina. I grew up in northern Indiana, in the Chicago area, really. The greater Chicago area. Mm-hmm. And we always used to, in class and when we went to contests and things like that, we used to give the people from Brown County, Indiana, a really hard time because they sounded like they were from North Carolina. Well, it turns out most of their ancestors were. You can kind of see Rowan County's cemetery records. The same names show up in Brown County, Indiana as well.
That's mainly
inter-
because Quakers
Yeah.
make meetings that were in North and South Carolina closed, and the Friends would move all the meetings, all the members would move to Indiana and Ohio and settle there.
But I went to a Quaker college in Indiana. So yes, they did, but further north in Indiana than this is. A lot of the other places, there was also a break from some of the Lutheran churches in this area that went to more southern Indiana, southern Illinois. So you see those names as well.
Yeah, I'm a Quaker, so
yeah.
I had to.
So, yeah. Yeah. You can go on to the next one.
Okay.
One of the unique things about the Edith M Clark History Room was we have our own classification system, and most people once they have had a little tutorial in it, like it, we don't arrange things by Dewey or Library of Congress, so we have materials basically arranged geographically. So all the information about Rowan County is in one area. All the information about Mecklenburg is in one area. All the stuff on Tennessee or Pennsylvania or any of those places are all arranged so you don't have to, traipse all around the library to find, land records here, cemetery records here, birth records here, that sort of thing. So most of that information is, collected in that way or organized in that way, and most people seem to like that fairly well. And you can go on to the next one. I'm gonna. I know we're pushed for time, so I'm just gonna. We do have a rare book room in the Burton Craig, who is from this area. He originally he was from here, and he went to Winston-Salem to become the attorney for the Reynolds Company in the early 1900s. But he and his son Archibald collected all kinds of books on North Carolina, and they maintained a strong tie with Rowan County and Salisbury. And when they left all of their North Carolina to the library here with the stipulation that we build a rare book room to house them. So this is our rare book room. And I like to tell people that we have a woodworker on staff, and she built these bookshelves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, so so most of our North Carolina and of course some other rare or fragile material is also housed in here. Christian Reed or Frances Fisher Tiernan was an early novel writer, and we have most of the first editions of her works here, and also a diary from Oscar Morehouse, who was a Union soldier held at the Salisbury Confederate prison. So we have a lot of materials associated with the Salisbury Confederate prison. And Lewis Brown, who wrote the definitive book on the Salisbury prison, we have his research materials here as well. So lots of people come here to look for Civil War information, and particularly for anyone in their family who was in the Salisbury Confederate prison. You can go on to the next one.
Okay.
So we do have a number of special collections, but I think I will just give you a couple examples a little bit later, so you can go ahead and go on. One of the things I really wanted to let everyone know about is the Mccubbins Collection. Mamie Mccubbins, or Mary Louise Gaskell Mccubbins, was born in 1875. She knew lots of the old families in Rowan County and also in western North Carolina, and her husband was also clerk of court. So she had access to all kinds of records and information for years, and she did genealogical research for decades. She worked for the WPA, and when she passed away in 1954, we inherited her papers. All her research was given to the library to the tune of like 150,000 plus pieces of paper on western North Carolina families. We have, in fact, those papers and things are generally considered almost primary documents in genealogical, in genealogy land. You can go on to the next.
Okay.
She was also famous for her hats, which is why you see that picture. She has that great hat on. This is just an example of some of the stuff that you can find in hers. So she typed things out, but she also wrote things out. And you can go on to the next slide. So we have a lot of these handwritten notes from the collection as well. We have, in fact, as you can imagine, a lot of these papers are now quite elderly, and we have digitized all of these loose papers, basically vertical files, and we've digitized them, and they're now available on our website. So if you want to go on to the next page, if you go to the Rowan Public Library and go to the history and genealogy section, you'll notice that there's the Mccubbins Collection. And if you go on to the next slide, please. If you click on the Mccubbins Index, it will show a listing of all of the surnames that we have in, and if you click on those, any of those names, scroll through all those names, and you can click on them, and it'll bring up a PDF file. So if you can go on to the next slide, and I'll show you. So, and of course, they're cross-referenced with as many names as we could possibly cross-reference them with. And as you know, if you've done any genealogy at all, nothing is spelled the same ever anywhere. So we have, alternate spellings as well. So this is what you would kind of take a look if you, pulled it up online. Can you go to the next slide? And again, these are some of the examples of her contributions. And some of these maps are amazing because they show where people that lived during, a particular time frame. So they can be invaluable, and they don't exist anywhere outside of her papers. She drew them herself, kind of thing. So go ahead to the next slide. I don't know if anyone has any questions about the Mccubbins Collection, but please go online and check it out. We do, again, we have so many, we just have literally hundreds of thousands of pages, thousands of pages that would give you information on, various families, marriage records, baptismal records, land deeds, all kinds of things that will help you to find some information about your family. One of the other items that we're proud to have digitized on our website are the Klutz maps. And technically, they're the early landowners of Rowan County, North Carolina maps, but no one ever calls them that. We just call them the Klutz maps because Mr. Klutz, James William Klutz, published these maps, and we are allowed to show them to have them up digitally. Now, unfortunately, he wasn't able to do all the landowners of what was originally Rowan County, i.e. that space I showed you all the way to the Mississippi River and north to Virginia. He wasn't able to do all that. But the current Rowan County, all the earliest landowners are on here. So if you'll go to the next slide, you can go to the index and find your person, whoever that might be, and click on the coordinate. So anything that says, 4D4, that's your map coordinate, and it will pull up the map of your, family's land, and the numbers on the map will tell you what deed book and what entry to find it in the abstract books, or in the, I think Sheila mentioned Mecklenburg has all the land deeds for Mecklenburg online. So the Register of Deeds of Rowan County also has their historical deeds online as well. And so these would give you a clue. You could go to the Register of Deeds with this number, like 09580, and find your particular person's land deed from this information. So you can go ahead to the next slide. one of the other things that I just wanted to tell you about, Mr. Theo Bierbaum was a German immigrant who lived here in the mid and late 1800s. He was, a town father. He ran a shop, but one of the things that he did was take a lot of pictures, and he sent those postcards back to Germany to be turned, or his pictures, and to be turned back into postcards. And we have a lot of those postcards we have online. And so if you like old buildings and you want to see the kind of older history of Rowan County and Salisbury in particular, you can kind of look at these and see all kinds of great information on here for this. So we do have that as well. Go ahead,
Gretchen. We are getting close on time. Are you getting?
I know. I'm close enough to stop. So
okay,
that's fine.
Take a couple more minutes.
Okay. Archibald Henderson was one of the people that we do have his manuscript collection. He was a very interesting person. He was a math professor. He was originally born in Salisbury. He was a math professor at UNC Chapel Hill, but he was also the biographer of George Bernard Shaw. He was a friend of Mark Twain. And in his collection, we have some things from Mark Twain. He also knew, if you'll go to the next slide, he also was a friend of Albert Einstein. And when he was stationed in Germany for a while in the 1920s and met Einstein, and this is when he was saying goodbye. He went by the lab, and Einstein wrote this note in German, obviously, on a piece of cardboard that has been preserved. And but it's just interesting. He knew all kinds. You just never know what you'll find in somebody's manuscript collection. So that's kind of interesting. You can go on to the next slide. We have some, obviously early letters, but we have some early Masonic letters from the 1700s for Rowan County. They're just, kind of interesting letters. And you can go on. We also have ledgers. This ledger happens to be from an area a house called Mount Vernon in Rowan County, not Mount Vernon, the famous one. But they also had a store, and you see this ledger is from 1855 and shows what people purchased and that kind of thing, and who lived in the neighborhood. So it's really great for historical and genealogical and research. You can go on to the next one.
All right.
But
all right, thank you so much. I have to tell you, Gretchen, I think you're probably going to be hearing from some people, because the chat room just came alive when we got to Rowan County, and everybody's got ancestors from there. And Paul Hawthorne has found his Galloways and Dillinghams in your index already. And
good.
So I think you're going to be hearing from people. And I tell you, our friends are used to us kind of reading out a lot of their comments and stuff, but we just stuffed this episode. And so you have to forgive us today for not calling your names and saying hello. So I'll just say hello to all the regulars and welcome to anyone who's newly joining us today. And just thank you so much to all three of our guests. We know that there was so much more that you could have said, had you had a little bit more time. And I just have to say that for me, learning about what's available in our local and regional libraries has been really eye-opening, because I'm one that travels down. It's 3.5 hours for me to get to Raleigh, just a few minutes more to get to Chapel Hill. And so I'm thinking I'm always going to the State Library or to the Wilson Library. But what I'm learning is that maybe on a smaller scale, but our local and regional libraries have the same types of resources to offer us. And so we might be thinking, oh, well, it's not in the Southern Historical Collection, so it doesn't exist. And that is not the case. And so I hope everyone will take that from today's show, that you must reach out to those libraries that, well, I say in your area of research, but that also may not matter. Just check out the whole state. And speaking of checking out the whole state, I am going to do the final share that we had planned, and hopefully, prayerfully, it's going to work out correctly this time. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing it. Let me throw you up here. Yep.
So we just wanted to share with everyone the fact that the State Library of North Carolina has a library directory that shows you every single library or public library in the state of North Carolina, lets you know where it's located. Let me go back up here. The county and city, the type of library it is, the name of the branch, and in most cases will link you to the website for that library so that you can go in and see who has what that might be related to your research. And we had a number, Tania, there it is, 533. So there's 533 entries in this directory. We will also include this link in the show notes. But we just wanted to not leave today in case the library you're interested in was not mentioned. We want to make sure you know that there is a place that you can find it in that directory.
Absolutely.
And so we do have a few questions. Tania, do you have them to bring up? If not, I have them.
Well, why don't you go ahead, because I wasn't saving the question.
I have two right now.
Okay.
So one is, where would I find genealogy info for Craven County, Bachelor, North Carolina? And this person is researching the Moye family, but Craven County,
That's
Bachelor.
Newbern.
Okay.
That's
so
Newbern,
that's
North
Newbern.
Carolina.
We'll
They
have
have
a little bit, and we might have something on the Moye family. Sounds familiar.
I've heard that name too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
we have some materials on Craven County. A lot of this eastern courthouses had a nasty habit of burning down. So I don't think Craven County is one of those. But I do not want to be remiss in thanking Tania and Renata for having us here today. And I hope one thing I left out is we house the Charlotte Observer negatives, which are millions of negatives. And those are used for genealogy and history and documentaries and all sorts of things. So, and the newspaper is online going back to 1888. Thank God.
Great. And then there was another question, would Martin County be covered by the Outer Banks History Center?
Again, we'll have a little bit, but not much. But we're happy to collect more. It'd be worth giving us a call. I'd be happy to look into it.
We have some materials on Martin. Like I said, we have materials for every county. So if you want to start with us and ask us to check what we have before you go on to the state library, the great Elizabeth Hayden, who's running that show down there for the genealogy department in Raleigh right now, used to be. She worked with us for a while. So. But Cabarrus County is another great resource. But Martin County is one of those. I do believe the courthouse went poof.
I tell you, if you're a North Carolina researcher, you're very fortunate. There are just so many resources available. And I did put in the chat that I'm ready to take a libraries road trip. So if anybody wants to get on the bus, just let me know. We just go from library to library to library. So,
that's one of the things we recommend.
Out of the way.
we do not recommend people go to the courthouse or the Register of Deeds, because that is not their job to help you find genealogy. Always go to the public library. Do not hesitate to ask us questions. That's why we're there. We love what we do, and we want to share what we have with you.
I would definitely
all these years in the courthouses and Register of Deeds. So.
I mean, the Register of Deeds can be really helpful here in Rowan, but a lot of times they're too busy to really help. And you can get almost all that information and then follow it up with other stuff if you're at the library. So it's always, I would always recommend stopping at the library first, and then if you can't, if for some reason. You can get what you need. But,
Carrie Bright is asking if anyone represented here has Facebook groups. And I will say that one of the libraries I was going to show you had a Facebook group. Now, I think it may have been the Warren County Library, but I'm not sure.
We have
do
one.
any of you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Outer Banks
that's
History Center Facebook. We tried to put up some of the wackier things to make it interesting.
That's cool.
Um,
That's cool.
Posts.
The Rowan Public Library has a Facebook, and so some of my things go up on that Facebook, but I don't have it dedicated to just the history room.
Okay.
All
And
right.
So
social media is
I'm glad Carrie brought that up. That's something to look for because you can just go on Facebook and do search and see what
Yep.
they have for your area. So,
Mhm.
well, this was really wonderful. We thank you again, and we want to remind everyone that our next research chat is just next week because remember we skipped last week because of the 4th of July. So we will be together on July 18th for our research chat. Is that 2:00, Tania?
It is. Yes, it
2:00 next Sunday. And remember that we, as a new element of the chats, we want to kind of talk about whatever the show was about. So maybe next week those of you that were bursting at the seams today can share some of your experiences with using the local and regional libraries for your research, or maybe you'll visit some of their websites after today's show and you'll be able to share some successes with us. And we don't mind if you want to share your screen or something, but just let us know ahead of time so we can be ready to make that happen. And then our next show, which should be the last show for the summer, is August 1st. And we have a little bit of a surprise coming for you because we are going looking at 2 different topics that we may be presenting. So I'm not going to say what it is yet. You'll just have to stay tuned, and we look forward to having everyone with us at 2:00 on August 1st for our final summer show of 2021. Tania, did I leave anything out?
No, you got it covered. So we just really want to thank everyone who tuned in today to listen to our guests share about the wonderful resources they have in their collection. I do have to second what Renata said about, how it's been enlightening to know and hear from you all about what you offer. And I hope it's enlightening for our audience. Right? Keep the libraries in mind. Maybe I'll get a road trip in too and get to come to my home state and visit some of you all. But
I'm thinking we should make that happen.
We should make that happen.
North Carolina genealogy road trip.
Exactly.
So I think as we're waving goodbye and saying goodbye, I'm just gonna, I can't help but want to just call a few names. So I see Connie's with us and Colleen, and I had jotted down that we had someone here from Canada today, Tania.
Wow,
someone who's
wonderful.
Dallas 267. I think J. Paul Hawthorne had it before I saw Canada. He's all the way out there in Escondido, California. But thank you. I'm just kind of running some names. Y'all can sign out if you want. I'm just going to say a few names that I see. I'm going to close my eyes and open an eye and say a name. Celestine Hines, Melissa, Shelly Murphy is here. Gary Franklin's here. Lisa Sloan. Hey, girl. How you doing? She's crossed the water from me. Who else do you see, Tania?
Man. Tanya Lanier's here. Stella Taylor. Benita. Benita has family from Rowan, so I think she's going to be busy.
There's Diana James Winder and Sharon McCollins is here. I mean, we can't get everybody. Sharon Bruno, she's always so faithful. We just love you all, and we just love, even though it's so exciting to see new people here, it does our heart glad to see people coming back time and time and time again, because that means that you have found that this is a valuable resource for you. And that's all we set out to do. So thanks, everybody. I'm really going to shut my mouth now and say goodbye. And thanks to everybody. We'll see you next Sunday at 2:00 for our research chat.
All
Bye.
Right. Bye.
Thank you.